Hello, my name is Henry Mackey. This is my, yeah, you could call it a show, you could call it a podcast. I don't know what to call it yet. This is called The Greatest Battles, if you couldn't tell from the title. This is a series where I'll be talking about the history's greatest heroes and some battles if I feel like it. I would love to hear if you guys have any suggestions. Put it in the comments if you do. But without further ado, let's get on with the topic of the video. The topic of today's videos is Thomas Edward Lawrence, or better known as the Lawrence of Arabia. He was a soldier, a freedom fighter, a writer, a motorcyclist, and even a pilot. Though he was the Lawrence of Arabia, he was actually a British man who was in the British intelligence in 1916. He was tasked with helping Prince Faisal and, just the easiest mission. Just cause an Arab uprising and, overthrow the Ottoman Turks. Just so simple. In return, the Arabs would get their independence and were actually even encouraged to uprise after pamphlets dropped from planes. That sounds familiar. Not expecting the Arabs to succeed so well, Britain and France were already making plans to divide the Arab continent into what would become modern-day Iran and Syria. Though it is unclear how much Lawrence knew about this information, but he did know something was arise. But wanting instead to be rid of the Turkish threat, he instead lied to the Arabs and promised freedoms with the British. One of the most common ways Lawrence would hurt the Turks would actually be railway raids. They would place an explosive device on the tracks and wait. Like a metal bull, and the steam train would come thundering down the desert, unknowing of the bombs the saboteurs have placed. Suddenly, a mighty explosion would flip the entire train over, and coming down from the hill would be Lawrence and his forces. They took every bit of supplies and used it for themselves, and I don't know what they did with the rest. Lawrence became very immersed into the Arab world. He made many friends and actually learned the Arabic language. The people he fought with were no longer the Arab people. They were his friends and kind of like his family. Because of this, he wanted an independent Arabia as much as his friends did. He wanted to do something so big, so massive, that Britain could not go back on their word. The city of Damascus was selected. It was the political center of the Arab world. But to get to Damascus, he had to get the coastal city of Aqaba. His commanding officer informed them that Aqaba and Damascus was not desirable right now, that it was not in his interest to attack them. Lawrence, though, on the other hand, did not really care. He said this was a private venture and he did not need the British support at all. This could be true. It could be argued that he might have been able to take Damascus and Aqaba, but on the siege of Aqaba he did get help from the Royal Navy shelling their fortress, but we're just gonna ignore that. Lawrence and his forces had to travel a total of 600 miles, which, to put it into scale, is about half the distance of the Colorado River. During the siege on the coastal city, Lawrence actually almost died because he accidentally shot his camel. With the surprise Arabian forces and shelling from the Royal Navy, Aqaba was successfully taken, with the Arabs only losing 2 men. Later, after the siege of Aqaba, other less important victories will take place that will help Britain and some of the other allies. The Australian forces were the first to enter Damascus, but were instructed to let the Arabs win. It was finally over, they thought. 400 years of oppression, the Arab people celebrated. But celebrations were short-lived. Britain informed Prince Faisal that under no certain terms that there was independence. Defiant, Faisal's forces stayed in the city, and he declared himself the king of Syria. Then later the French troops invaded the city and removed Faisal from Syria at the point of a bayonet. Lawrence instead wrote 2 books, The Mint, which was about his time in the RAF, the Royal Air Force, and The 7 Pillars of Wisdom was about his, in my opinion, much cooler Arab Revolution. And he both loved and hated the limelight and assumed a surname, living in the little house in Clouds Hill. Troubled by his part in Britain's broken promise, he found solitude and speed, and owned many motorcycles. Even with the Turks overthrown and Britain winning the war, he still felt sorrow, with the Arabs now under a new form of rule with Britain. One day he was riding his Bras Superior SS-100 on a country road when 2 boys appeared on bicycles. Swerving to avoid them, he lost control of his steed and crashed into a tree. 6 days later, at the age of 46, the Lawrence of Arabia had died in 1935. Lawrence himself, obviously not being alive for this, also had a film made about him called Lawrence of Arabia in 1916. You can watch it on, I don't know, where do you watch movies? It's probably on Netflix. We may not like it, but whenever people think of the Middle East, they mostly think of terrorism, wars, the U.S. ravaging all the oil like a hungry alligator. But it's always nice to look at these good stories. I think we should remember the good instead of the bad. Holy cow. Thank you, the viewer. Holy cow, thank you for making it this far. This was fun. I enjoyed this. Please let me know if you enjoy this by smashing the like. Oh, that sounds stupid. Thank you for seriously. Thank you for watching this. This was fun. I enjoy this. If anyone has any suggestions, put it in the comments. If you have like a good story you want me to tell, then I will tell it. I mean, it kind of has to be about a hero of war. I mean, I'm kind of open if it's about like the space age, because that's kind of history, because no one really remembers that, which kind of sucks, because everyone knows about the Apollo mission and not Yuri Gagarin. But that's off topic. Thank you all for making it this far. I hope you all have a good day. Goodbye.